This video is going to be about visualization, or what is sometimes referred to in a sports sense as mental rehearsal. So practices like this are still viewed as a little bit kind of weird, a bit woo, and a bit kind of esoteric, if you will, which I think is a real shame because the mind-body connections are a really fascinating topic, and there's strong evidence that using practices like visualization are a really useful tool to help you improve. Now, my content is primarily martial arts related, as you know. However, I think this is a concept that is applicable to any kind of skill that you wish to develop. So whether or not you're a practicing martial artist or not, try to view these concepts through the lens of your own chosen discipline and then, apply them from that point. Visualization is the process of basically using your imagination to mentally perform a task as opposed to actually physically training it. The most popular theory to do with this is the psychoneuromuscular theory. According to this, the sub-threshold activation of muscles during a mental rehearsal session are very close to that of the actual same skill performed physically. Simply put, the brain struggles to differentiate between an action real and imagined, and this is the basis of what is sometimes known as subconscious programming. So a famous study with college basketball students illustrates the power of this practice quite considerably. The students were split into 3 groups and they were each tested on how many free throws that they could make. The first group practiced actual free throws every day for 1 hour. The second group only visualized themselves making the free throws with no physical practice, and the third group just did nothing at all. After 30 days, they were tested once again. The first group, who were engaging in the physical practice, improved by 24%. The third group, who did nothing, didn't improve at all, which was obviously to be expected. However, the second group, who engaged in only mental practice, improved by 23% without even touching a basketball. Even though this can be beneficial from anybody from a complete beginner to an expert, there are some factors that determine the effectiveness of the practice, and those are the expertise level of the participant, the retention interval between practice and performance of the skill, and also the length of the mental rehearsal session. Okay, and I'm going to give you a few basic instructions on how to do this technique. You need to set an intention beforehand so that you know what to focus on during your practice. Next, you want to find a place where you won't be disturbed and sit into a comfortable chair. Then close your eyes to block out any distractions from your immediate environment and turn your attention inward. We're going to breathe in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth until we relax ourselves into what is known as an alpha brainwave state. Alpha is the doorway to the subconscious, and you know you're in that brainwave state when you begin to feel relaxed and have less of a focus on your current surroundings. Once you begin to feel that you are sufficiently relaxed, then begin visualizing yourself in first person, performing whatever sequence or movement that you want. And just keep repeating that over and over again throughout your visualization practice. Try to really internalize how it would feel as you visualize to build on those neuromuscular connections. Can you feel the ground under your feet as you move? How about the clothes moving against your skin, and so on? It's particularly effective to do this practice as you're drifting off to sleep or waking up in the morning. As we are approaching or leaving a deep sleep or delta brainwave state, we'll naturally pass through the desired alpha state, meaning that some of the relaxation work will be already taken care of for you. This should be practiced from anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes. Now, just before we advance to the next section, I just want to show you this clip of Conor McGregor defeating Jose Aldo for the UFC featherweight title back in 2015.
Jose Aldo Jr. Conor relaxed and smiling. Oh no! Just slapped him!
Now check out this clip of him warming up in his locker room before the fight, practicing the exact same shot that he used to win the fight, and then see the two side by side. Very cool.
If you can see it here, and you have the courage enough to speak it, it will happen. So I see these shots, I see these sequences, and I don't shy away from them.
This comment from one of my previous videos really resonated with me. When you watch a video of someone doing martial arts, your mirror neurons trigger, and without realizing it, your mind and body is actually training while you watch the video. I think visualization also helps trigger your mirror neurons as if you were training. The reason it resonated was that recently I'd become aware that I'd kind of been practicing a form of visualization when I was a kid, in the form of watching clips of martial artists I admired over and over again, and then going out and literally feeling like I could move like those people and using my creative imagination. Even though I couldn't actually physically do that yet, it didn't really matter. I was just having fun with it like kids do, using their imagination. However, therein lies one of the major keys to an effective visualization, especially in envisioning future circumstances that you want to work towards. And that's saturating the images with as much positive emotion as you can and not letting your inner critic creep into your mind and tell you that it's not possible. I believe the reason I was able to do this quite effectively is children are not yet conditioned by the norms and limitations of society that they then receive as they grow up, and therefore they believe anything is possible, meaning that I was able to practice this relatively free of self-doubt, which is generally the strongest factor that hinders the majority of adults in being able to do something that they want to do. Now obviously the majority of the audience here are not children, however if you're able to remain aware enough to know that your mind is inevitably going to try to throw you off with learned limitations and beliefs whenever you're trying to change something, then that can be enough to stop you identifying with those thoughts, be vigilant and continue on with confidence. Now there's another layer to this as well that is also paramount to understand, and that's the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind and how this relates to visualization practice. This image serves as a metaphor for how our minds work. In simple terms, the conscious mind is the only part that we can affect at any time and are aware of, hence its name. The subconscious mind contains much greater power but cannot be accessed in the same way as the conscious mind and is hidden under the surface of our awareness, if you will. You'll notice on the image that the portion of the subconscious mind contains our beliefs and habits, which are paramount in achieving any worthy ideal. I'll explain a little about this now, but if you would like to learn more, then perhaps the best book on the topic is Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. This book was originally written in the 1960s, however it's still an incredible resource today and is still on the recommended reading list of many highly successful people.
90% of the men and women alive today have an image of themselves as distorted as the reflection in a fun house mirror. The first and basic truth of cybernetics is image is all.
Maltz uses the analogy that we are like a thermostat in our homes. You set the thermostat for a certain temperature and then any deviation from that causes the thermostat to kick in and bring the temperature up or down to its set point. Our subconsciously held beliefs are like that set point on the thermostat. So take for instance the belief that you are a healthy person. You might see yourself as somebody who goes to the gym regularly, who eats well and who takes care of themselves. However, maybe you go on vacation and you eat a little bit too much and gain some extra body fat. Then your subconscious beliefs will kick in automatically and you'll begin to feel strange. You won't feel like yourself. And then you'll begin to automatically find yourself moving towards making the changes until you're back at the set point that you feel comfortable with. This example is easy to understand when we hold a positive image of ourselves. However, what's almost more important to understand is the same is true if we hold a negative image of ourselves. The subconscious is not known to differentiate between positive and negative feedback. So if you hold a subconscious negative image of yourself, whether that's physically or with regards to your potential, for instance, then no matter how much you try to force change consciously, you're always going to find yourself back at that same place sooner or later. This is often referred to as the snap-back effect. So imagine stretching out an elastic band that's wrapped around your finger. The band is eventually going to reach its breaking point and snap back to its original position. In my own experience, this can be a very tricky thing to remain aware of because those negative beliefs will almost kind of haunt you in a way, and they will take on the form of things that feel very real to you in the moment and very rational. Be aware that they will come up and remain vigilant as you're moving forwards. I think that to only view this in terms of rehearsing a physical movement for a sport, for instance, is doing a little bit of an injustice to the potential of this kind of work. We can use this in all different areas of our lives to improve things that we're not really that happy with. There are many different schools of thought on this topic. As you know that we've been talking about, sports science may call this mental rehearsal, and the New Age community may call it manifesting or the law of attraction. But if you look at it from a broad scale and past the dogma, then you realise that a lot of what's been said by these groups is actually the same thing under different names. Psycho-Cybernetics hits the nail on the head with its premise of once difficult, now easy. As mentioned previously, our subconscious minds can't be accessed in the same way as our conscious minds and our regular everyday thinking. It only responds to certain known stimuli, and even then, there are very few of those that we actually have any control over. So they are 1. Repetition, 2. Traumatic events, 3. Authority figures, and 4. Hypnosis. So the one that we obviously want to exploit with this visualization practice is repetition. Remember, the subconscious mind is where habits are formed, so it's really quite a good job we have to repeat what we want to learn. Otherwise, everything we did, including terrible mistakes, would automatically become habitual. So in knowing that the subconscious mind needs to receive the message again and again over time until it begins to build a new habit should hopefully help you to ease up a little and not become discouraged when you don't see immediate changes. If you find that you struggle to form solid images or concentrate during a visualization session and can't really get into the flow, then another very good book that offers a progressive visualization course is The Master Key System by Charles Hannell. It's actually a very old book, so some of the language is a little bit outdated, but if you can see past that, it's really quite a practical resource. The actor Terry Crews credits this book with helping him achieve his success, and supposedly Bill Gates as well, although it hasn't been recorded anywhere.
When I got this book called The Master Key System, It broke down some things in ways that I can understand. And one of the concepts in the book is that in order to have, you have to do. In order to do, you have to be. With fitness, you are fit before your body ever gets in shape. You have to be fitness.
I hope you use the information in this video as a tool to improve in something you want, be that a physical skill or a circumstance that you wish to bring about into your life. They really are the same thing if you look from a broad enough perspective. And finally, to quote Bruce Lee, guys, remember not to mistake the finger for the moon. Understand that being inspired by somebody doesn't mean that you want to just completely copy and emulate that person. It means that there's qualities about them that excite you, and then it's identifying those qualities and working out how to apply them to your own life to become more of yourself and your true essence. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video and found value in it, please subscribe to the Bioneer and follow me across all social media platforms. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.